feared that we would get 3% there, and then it goes to
We're about 2 or 3 blocks away, and you can see, it's kind of difficult to see, but looking towards Nordstrom's, you can see how thick that smoke and just everything in the air is. You can, the sign actually is quite clouded right now. One thing we've also been noticing, we are at 6th Avenue, again, just up the street, is there has been a large amount of people just in the last few minutes walking towards the area in question, the area of these fires. It is noticeably more packed with people than just maybe 2 minutes ago. So it seems like despite pleas from police, from government officials to stay away definitely from the area of fire, if not from downtown, apparently that message hasn't been gotten to people, at least not yet. You can still see that people are marching down there, right again towards the fires. Very thick smoke and very thick clouded picture in the distance right there. For what it's worth, we are still seeing people trying to drive through here, and they are not getting through. It is not happening with the amount of people and really the amount of protesters and trouble that's happening down here. So far, anyway, at least from our vantage point, again on 6th, we are not seeing any windows broken. We haven't seen any vandalism or damage, but again, down the street, that is clearly a different site, and quite an escalation here in the downtown area. We're going to monitor everything that's going on, maybe walk a block or two to see what the vantage point is from there, and we'll come back to you in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Again, what you're seeing there on the screen, we heard earlier about several Seattle police vehicles that were on fire, but what you are seeing there are clearly private vehicles or vehicles belonging to civilians that were parked in that area, and they have been on fire as well. They are now appearing to be out and smoldering. Let's check in with KIRO 7's Dee Dee Sun. Dee Dee, you were also in that general area. What can you tell us about what you're learning there?
Protesters who says 2 of these vehicles are Seattle police vehicles. I don't have that confirmed visually because that is how burned these cars are. But right there you can count 1, 2, 3, 4 vehicles that are still smoking, and I'm told there are more cars around the corner that have been burned. And now I want to show you a little bit more of this scene here and some of the other damage that has been caused out here by protesters. And Bill, if you can follow me here just past the Seattle fire truck, you can see the Verizon store right here just beyond this line of bike officers. You can see that the Verizon store has not only been graffitied, but that the windows have been smashed. It looks like there is a metal pane inside beyond the windows, so I don't believe the store has been looted. But going back around the other way, Bill, right in front of us, if you pan to your left here past the Seattle fire vehicle, past those smoldering cars, but right in front of us, this building here, its windows are also completely smashed. And I'm not sure what building this is, if it's residential or if it's a business, but the windows on this building have been smashed, not only on the side that you are looking at, but also around the corner here. And now back to where those vehicles are still smoking. You can see there is a large crowd on the other side as well. The crowd behind me is still quite large, even though Mayor Durkin is clearly trying to get out the word that she is putting in that 5 p.m. curfew. People out here are not aware that this is happening. One protester said to me, now that she's heard about this, she is going to go home. And so hopefully some of the unrest and some of the violence caused by protesters out here will dissipate throughout the evening. But right now it is still a fairly tense situation. And some people who are getting eyes on these burned vehicles for the first time are surprised how much it escalated. And based on what Ryan was saying, I believe that column of smoke that he was seeing, I do believe that was coming from here, because we were able to see this column of smoke that has dissipated somewhat from these vehicles from many blocks away. And so as this protest has continued, it started off peaceful, although as it continued, it has certainly become violent in some areas. And I know that many of the leaders who have organized these protests, they have said we wanted today to be peaceful. Clearly, like in many areas of the country, it has not remained peaceful. And we know that several Seattle police vehicles were burned. It looks like some civilian vehicles were burned as well. Right now what you are seeing is Seattle Fire. They're able to finally open the doors of some of the cars to try to get out those last hot spots. And one of the Seattle Fire crew members is wrapping up a hose here. And so clearly the worst of the situation is over in terms of the vehicle fires right in front of us. and it looks like they were able to prevent that vehicle fire from spreading to Nordstrom. Again, right now I am at 6th and Olive. We are right at the Nordstrom in downtown Seattle. We're across the street from the Chase Bank and the Nordstrom. Several of the businesses here have had their windows smashed. I am not clear on if any have been looted. And we have seen several protesters, passing this line of Seattle police officers and getting pushed back, being told you cannot be in this area. And the largest group of protesters, they've been kind of separated into different sections. So one section here at 6th and Olive, another section past that line of vehicles, and then another section where my colleague Deborah Horn is. And so the largest groups of protesters have been separated, but people are still out here and they're still expressing their anger and periodically chanting, I can't breathe, or chanting, what's his name, George Floyd. And so there's still a lot of activity out here, Lindsay. But for now, I'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Dee Dee. Please stay safe out there as you are navigating the chaos that has erupted there. Basically, from some very peaceful demonstrations earlier, you are seeing several cars smoldering. If you are just joining us right now, it is just after 5 o'clock. And what that means is that the mayor's emergency order implementing a 5 p.m. curfew is now in effect. She is asking people to disperse from all areas there of downtown where they have gathered. You are looking at another live picture that appears to be along 5th Avenue there underneath the monorail, and you can see Seattle police have set up a long row there to prevent those protesters from moving any farther south. They are standing there. They are not trying to get past those police officers in any way. But as you can see, you have that line of officers, then you have several police vehicles, and now we are zooming in to see another line of Seattle police officers who appear to be holding back another group of protesters a little bit farther south there on 5th. You can see some of them holding up their signs there. Looks to be talking about police in that particular sign. But of course, all of these protests that have turned destructive, turned chaotic this afternoon and evening, stemming from outrage and frustration over the killing of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police earlier this week. You were just seeing there that person who appeared to be in police custody. They had their hands behind their back. We are tracking all sorts of responses right now from law enforcement as they are reacting to what has gone from peaceful Now, if you just have your phone in your hand, I am learning that you may have just received an emergency alert. That is what you are hearing beeping in the background there right now, as many people are getting it. Now, I am reading this. It reads that the city of Seattle is asking all residents to immediately disperse from downtown. The city has imposed an immediate curfew of 5 p.m. and they are sending that out to phones across the city and hopefully getting that message to some of these marchers and protesters downtown. You saw our reporters there on the scene telling some of the protesters about that curfew. Many people were not aware of that curfew, and so that emergency alert now going out and hopefully trying to get people to stay away from those streets, get away from those fires, that chaos down there, and disperse all these crowds and these protesters in downtown Seattle. Now, I understand that Seattle Fire, you can see one of their trucks there after responding to that fire. They have actually requested some support from Renton Fire as well, and also Tukwila. So they are reaching out to surrounding areas to get support right now to the chaos that has broken out in Seattle from these protests. Not just here, from where you are seeing these smoking cars right in front of the Nordstrom area, but also we saw people perhaps half an hour ago walking throughout lanes on the interstate and bringing traffic to a standstill there. Let's check in with reporter Ryan Sims. He was previously watching those protesters on the interstate. I believe he has moved to a different vantage point right now. Is Ryan available to check in with us about what he is seeing? Ryan, what can you tell us is developing there right now?
Well, just right up the street from the fire, we've seen kind of a pocket of people gathered around an intersection, and it is noticeably more people than just a few minutes ago. I would say hundreds of people just kind of standing around the intersection here. Some people are very spirited. We're hearing a lot of people, and actually you can see what's going on here. We don't want to broadcast that on TV, so we're going to head back to you and switch things up. Be right back.
Ryan, I want to tell you that we are taking your voice, and so we can check in with you in just a bit. But what we are taking you to right now is what appears to be an arrest in downtown.
Okay.
We are working to get a location here, but this is right along the line of Seattle police where they have stopped protesters from moving. You can see a sign saying "Justice for George," and then below that, where you can see some red there on the ground, it appears that several Seattle police are working to take someone into custody to arrest them. This looks like another official vehicle pulling in front of us, so we want to give our photographer time to get out of the way, and now he is going to move forward again and see if he can get better pictures. It looks like a man is walking toward us, and he is in police custody right now. 3 officers guiding him up the street, as you see behind, signs that say "We demand justice." All of this breaking out over the outrage of the killing of George Floyd after a Minneapolis police officer, Derek Chauvin, kneeled on George Floyd's neck for several minutes as he lost consciousness, and as other police officers stood around and watched there in Minneapolis. That outrage stemming from George Floyd's death. Now, that arrest you just saw there is one of several arrests.
pushing in. Okay. Smell some gas. I bet if it was your kid, you'd have something to say. I bet if it was your kid, Óigame.